Start with a short breathing exercise to quiet our mind, watching breath mindfully. So then we can try to reflect, contemplate in our life. Due to many internal and external causes and conditions, different feeling, thought, emotions arises at different times. Sometimes anger arises. Sometimes attachment arises. Sometimes ignorance arises. And sometimes they subside by itself over the time. Sometimes by using some of the technique meditations, we are able to let them go. And sometimes compassionate sense of loving kindness arises. Sometimes the wisdom of non-attachment arises. As well as sometimes the wisdom of non-ignorance arises. Even if it's a very, very tiny. But also they do not last all the time. And then again they disappear. Sometimes within a minute, sometimes within an hour, within days, weeks, months. So they all seems to be very fluctuating, those different thoughts, state of minds. Does not always stay. But through practice, constant practice, we can we will be able to maintain the wisdom of non-attachment, non-ignorance, loving kindness, compassion all the time. It is possible to maintain them all the time. And it is also possible to not give any arising of ignorance, anger, and attachment, so forth. But to be able to do that, it requires continuous practice. And to be practiced, we have to be reminded and continue to study, learn. And that is the reason why we have come here together. And the virtues that we create through coming together with good intentions, listening, reflecting, contemplating, may they all become cause and conditions to transform ourselves, to develop all the realizations, and then eventually to achieve fully enlightened state as soon as possible. So we can liberate all sentient beings from all their suffering and cause of suffering. And to guide them to lasting true happiness of fully enlightenment. Okay. To the founder, the endowed, transcended destroyer, the one gone beyond, the fourth destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sukha, the Lord of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of the gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcended destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya claim. I prostrate, make offering, go for refuge, homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all three ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, Adam, in all aspects, with the supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous action, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind fully. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a visual, aberrations, a flame of lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew, or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through this merit, may sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from the samsaric ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. 사시베기 조시 메도 다리라 인데겐바데 상계신도 미대우와이 로근 나마다시 제발요 이담 그루라나 멘달라다니야타야. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Geshe So, as we have been discussing, not only during this time, but ever since, that we have met the Dharma, that the root of our problems, suffering, is our selfish attitude and self-grasping ignorance. And those two, like the superpower, two superpower country who's creating all the problem in all over the world and supporting each others, Similarly, these two, the selfish attitude and self-grasping ignorance, by supporting each others and then create, all the problems, all the sufferings on individual level, and as well as within our family, within the our neighbor countries, the world is a result of those two, all the problems. Small problem, the biggest problems. As long as they are there, the problem will continue to be there. It's not going to be completely gone by just changing the external situations. As long as those selfish attitude and self-grasping minds are within the human beings, within the sentient beings, we can only, by changing externally, we can only reduce the pain and suffering to a certain level. And definitely, but again, the problem might be solved. One problem might be solved now, but again, another problem arises. And that is what we have been experiencing. One problem after another throughout the history. How many years throughout the history started, beginning of the human beings? And problem arises at one certain time, and by changing the external conditions, we have solved certain problem or reduced certain pain and problems. Again, another new problem arises. And it's endless, it's endless. At least that is our experience so far through our histories. Definitely certain problem which used to be a big problem at one time, they are not anymore, but then we have new problems that was not there before. And so that is where, as long as we have that, as long as the human beings and the sentient beings has that selfish attitude and self-centeredness, it will continue to create another problem, another problematic situations, another suffering, another pain. And so therefore it becomes so crucial, so important to work with our own mind to reduce and overcome such selfish attitude and self-centeredness, and such selfish or self-centered attitude and self-grasping ignorance. And in order to reduce and overcome or eliminate them, then we need to apply the antidotes. And to be able to apply the antidote that can overcome them, we need to develop the antidote within ourselves. Those internal enemy, you can say, or harmer, something which harms us and others, that selfish attitude and self-grasping ignorance, it cannot be destroyed by any other external factor, no matter how strong they are, or external energy. Because it is something internal, it has to be overcome by internally and through the mind itself. And so the antidote has to be developed within ourselves. And that means you need to develop the bodhicitta mind, conventional bodhicitta mind, to overcome the selfish attitude and to develop the ultimate bodhicitta or wisdom, realizing the ultimate truth that can act as antidote and overcome the ignorance. So in relation to that, then in order to cultivate those two incredible, powerful internal force of energy to destroy the internal enemies, the source of all the sufferings, we need to practice. Through studying, reflecting, contemplating, meditating. And in terms of the practice, then, we try to apply the practice, one, by sitting and really taking the time to meditate, reflect, and then also bringing what you have meditated on the cushions while you are sitting into our everyday life when we are not actually sitting, and what we call post-meditation sessions. So there is a meditative sessions that we actually try to sit on the cushions and try to meditate. And then when we are not sitting and when we are engaging into other activities, our worldly activities, then bringing that meditations that we have done while you are sitting into that, and through that again practicing, and again, so whether you are sitting on a cushion or you are not on sitting on a cushion doing something, but bringing the meditation in all aspects of our life, all aspects of our activities. And in relation to that, I think we finished the verses that explain about how to cultivate and develop the bodhicitta mind while on the cushion meditating through the practice of Tonglen. And then last week we also, once you have done the Tonglen practice, in order to cultivate the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and to maintain and to increase, improve, then how to maintain that while again we are engaging in other activities when we are not on cushions, and and how to bring that practice in our everyday life. And yeah, and even during the post meditation sessions, I mean, so I think where there was mainly two verses that where when we encounter three different kind of objects, then three different kind of feeling arises or emotion arises, attachment, anger, and indifference or ignorance. And when those arises, how to recognize them, and once you have recognized them, how to transform them and change them into non-attachment, non-anger, and non-ignorance. And through that, again, how we can transform those negative emotions into something in the positive emotions, and through that, how to maintain the loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta. That, and also we went through the verses where it also said, try to memorize some of the verses of Tonglen and try to remember that, recite that when you are walking or when you are washing, whatever you are doing, and then trying to reflect on them as much as possible, even when you are doing. And so that is, and again, sometimes it is helpful to write down some of those verses that you find meaningful, beneficial, helpful, to remind yourself, and to have in, maybe in your rooms, maybe outside of your rooms, wherever. So when you see it, it just reminds you of those practice. And so a lot of time we know the practice, but we forget, and we need to be reminded. And so it's a tool. And keeping the mala is one of the reason why people keep mala is, again, to remind you of the practice. It is not just only for keeping track, or it is not only for when you are doing retreat, but the reason why people continue to wear or keep is another reminder of when you see that, when you touch it, and then it kind of should help you to remind you to do practice. And so using that, and so with that, we kind of finish the verses on both conventional bodhicitta, and then next one comes on how to cultivate the ultimate bodhicitta mind, or the wisdom, realizing the ultimate truth or emptiness. And even within that, then maybe there is, of course, there is the actual practice, the meditations, which is the insight meditations. And in order to do that insight meditations, so that we can have penetrating wisdom of special insight, then as a foundations, then the practice of meditative concentration, or shamatha, and once we have a strong level of meditative concentration, shamatha, then we use that strong meditative concentrations as a tools to use it to analyze the ultimate nature of all the phenomena, all the objects. And through that kind of analysis and meditation, then we begin to have a deeper and more profound understanding of the true nature of self and true nature of all phenomena. And through that understanding, then we can reduce and eventually overcome the fundamental ignorance, the root of all the delusions. So And again, with each of meditations, like all the meditation, I think we already mentioned at the very beginning when we started, first starting with preliminaries, So again, even when we started with the shamatha or meditation on emptiness, again, always starting with refuge, because this is a Buddhist practice, and then cultivating bodhicitta motivations, the bodhicitta, because it's a Mahayana practice, and so refuge in bodhicitta. Then you can practice the, four immeasurable practice, and then seven-link practice, and then you can do a long, short mandalas, and then request, and then receiving the blessing from the guru and the deity by seeing inseparable oneness, and then requesting to help us, to guide us, to inspire us, to bless us, to have better meditations, better result, to have the realizations, and then we do the visualization or cleansing all the negativities, and especially the interference to develop that particular realization. So when you are doing shamatha, all the obstacles to develop shamatha have been cleansed, purified. If you are doing meditation on emptiness, all the internal obscuration to have that realization being cleansed, purified, and if you are doing bodhicitta, that being cleansed, purified, and then receiving the blessings and the realizations. All the realization, and particularly if you are doing a shamatha, the realization of shamatha, or if you are doing a emptiness, the realization of emptiness, if you are doing a bodhicitta, receiving the realization of the emptiness. And so we try to do that, so that there's all our kind of part of the preliminary within that particular sessions. And of course, those practices can be short, long, depending on your time and so forth. That one. And then, try to settle your mind before we actually start whatever meditations practice we are going to do in our sitting. Then you again try to focus on the breath and try to settle your mind, quiet your mind. And when we start whatever meditation practice, from the state of your mind where it's much more quiet, natural, calm, then your practice meditation will be more powerful, more stronger, and so here, so now if we go to the verses that where we are, that is where it is training in the ultimate awakened mind. And within that, when its first verse, where it said, when the stability has been attained, impart the secret teachings. So that is when it said when the stability has been attained, that means when your concentrations has improved, and through your meditative concentration, where you have developed certain level of stability in your mind, and so we don't need to go so kind of details, but definitely, and then first trying to develop shamatha or certain level of shamatha or certain level of meditative concentration through the practice of 9 stages of meditations, And so, and those 9 stages of meditations is the stages of mind, your concentrations or meditations as you improve or get better from one stage to another stage, So I will just kind of go through it without really going detail, because that is, so first is kind of placing or setting your mind, to the objects of your meditations. And that object can be any, most common and easy for a lot of people is a breath. You can set your mind or place your mind to develop concentration on the breath, or you can use any image, you know. And of course, for more others, even the any kind of it also you can be the object of your meditation concentration also can be, you know, bodhicitta, compassion, nature of your mind, but of course those are not easy. So for most people, more easier object, it would be breath or certain image, you know, whether it's a Buddha's image or any other image. So, but even among that is a breath is. So first is setting or placing your mind to the objects. So at that moment, you try to keep your mind on the object, but immediately you lose the objects, you know. You can't keep your mind there focused for a long time. Very quickly, your mind started to get distracted, and you started to lose the objects. And second, it continues placement, you know. So then you try to increase your concentration to the object without being distracted, without losing the object and without being distracted. So, you know, at the very beginning, maybe you can only concentrate without losing your object, without being distracted, fully distracted, maybe for, you know, some seconds or minutes. And then you try to increase that very slow, little bit, you know, and so that it continues. And then third one is replacing your mind to the object. That means, again, you know, the durations of your meditations without losing your objects and without completely distracted have increased a little bit. But still, you know, still you tend to, you're distracted. You know, still the distractions is there. So when we get distracted, then again, we recognize that we are distracted, and then bring your mind back to the objects. That is kind of replacing, bringing back. The good thing in meditation, even when you kind of lose it, you can always come back to the home. You can always come back to the breath. You can always come back to the object. The object is there. So then you try to bring that. Is in Tibetan land is like patching, you know, like when you have a cloth which are worn, the patching it, you know. So then, as your practice get better, you know, your meditation started to get better. Mm-hmm. So then, by third stages, there is possible someone can actually even lose the object of meditation in their meditation. Then on the fourth, the close placement, you know, by that time, then you wouldn't lose the object. But you wouldn't lose the object, but still you can be distracted, you know, but not fully distracted where you are totally lost the object. Because sometimes we don't lose the object, but still our mind is distracted. And so, but it still is improvement, it has improved. So from the fourth stages, then you never lose the object because of your distractions has decreased to a certain level where it is that your mind is not overwhelmed by distraction fully, where you totally lose the object of your meditations, you know. And then the fifth one is what we call disciplined mind or controlled mind, you know. So and then by that time, you know, then you still can have distractions, but again, you don't have a gross level of distractions. Now the distractions have become more subtle and more subtle, you know. And then at the sixth level, you know, the pacified, you know, so one of the things, in order to overcome the distractions, then we have to we have to put a little bit of you know, effort to control that distractions. And when you put an effort, you know, sometimes it gets more distracted. And in order to overcome the effort, then we have to withdraw the mind, you know. And when we try to withdraw the mind, then there is a danger of the dullness or laxity, you know. So that is the way the problem. And then again, we have a more grosser level of laxity or dullness. And again, through that, again, we try to pacify to the six. And then seven, you know, complete pacifications. So at the six, you know, even though there is not so much danger of distractions and laxity, but still you have to be careful. You have to be watchful. Your mind, I mean, have to be watchful, alert, you know. And by the seven complete pacifications, as your meditation get better, your mindfulness, awareness get better. So then at that time, you don't have to be so careful and attentive all the time. You can start to relax. You can start to relax more, even though, you know, because even though there is still a certain subtle level of distractions and laxity, but the danger is less. Even though you have not overcome it, but danger is less. It's like your enemy who doesn't have much power. So if you have an enemy who doesn't have much power, then you can start to relax, you know, because they can never overcome you, because you have reduced their power. And even though you have not totally abandoned it, but you can start to relax more. And then the eight, single pointedness. And then as you get better, you know, then at the beginning of your meditations, you just need to put a little bit of effort at the very beginning, and then throughout meditation, you don't need any effort. You can totally meditate without any, you know, without your mind being under the laxity or under the control of distractions. You know, you can keep your mind very stable, steady, clear, but you need little effort at the very beginning of the session of the meditations. On the ninth, then balance placement or equanimity, then you don't need any effort. The moment you stay in meditation, from that moment, without any effortlessly, you can meditate for hours without any, even without any subtle distractions or laxity. And then that is where, so that is the 9 stages. So through that 9 stage, practice of those 9 stages, then we try to develop very stable mind. Once we have developed that stability, or stable mind, then we use that meditative concentration or that stable mind, use that to analyze the deeper nature of self and other phenomena, to cultivate the penetrating wisdom. And so that is what is called, why in verse when stability has been attained, that is where, that means through the practice of 9 stages of meditations, we have developed certain stability of our mind, certain level of concentration of our mind. And then at that time, then here the impart the secret teaching means the teaching of emptiness, the teaching on the ultimate reality. That's the highest teachings, you know. And so then we next is we try to meditate on emptiness, okay, or the ultimate truth or reality. Now, and so then in terms of that, within that, again, like previous training of the conventional bodhicitta, also this has 2 sessions. During the meditative sessions, when you are sitting on the cushions, and during the post-meditative sessions, when you are not in the cushion, but when we are engaged in our everyday activities, and how to bring that practice that you have done in the meditation, on the cushion meditation, how to bring that also during the, when you are not on the cushions in a, you know, in our everyday life. And so that is, and then in that you can see the first word always, and within the, during the meditations, you know, there is meditations on emptiness of external object, and the meditation on the subject, the mind, the internal objects, okay? And so the first verse, consider all phenomena as like a dream. So that is the first meditation on, meditating on emptiness, on the, all the external objects of phenomena, of our attachments. So all the objects, all the external objects of our attachments, all the external object of our anger, all the external object of our ignorance, all the external object of, you know, our greediness, all the external object of our, you know, jealousy, all the external object of our pride, you know, all this, trying to see all those objects, meditating by seeing them as a object, all those objects as like a dream state, and not so real and solid and concrete as it appeared to our delusions and to us. For example, you know, when we get attached to something, how does that object that we are attached to, how does that object appear to our attachment? There's really sense of, you know, concrete, solid object there. Not only there is concrete, solid, but that object, whatever quality that we are attached to, maybe, you know, why we are attached? Because we are attached to the some part of the quality of that object, you know. If we are not attached to some part of the quality of that object, then of course we wouldn't be attached to that object, you know. And sometimes, of course, we all could be attached to the same object, but maybe we get attached because we are attached to different quality of that object, you know. So It doesn't mean that we are attached to the same quality of that object in order to be attached to that object, but basically our mind is attached. We're attached to a certain object because we're attached to a certain quality in that object, whatever that quality is. And the object, the quality of that object to which we're attached to, when we're attached, there's appearance of that quality that we're attached from that objective side by its own power. There, it's as though that we can say, oh, I can pinpoint, I can kind of finger point and locate and say, oh, that is what I'm attached to, or my mind is attached to. But if we really, when you don't analyze, it seems so, it's the case, there is that object or that quality. But if we really analyze on deeper level, with this, what we call, ultimate analysis, and with that critical analysis, what is that object that I'm attached to? What is that quality that I'm attached to? And if you kind of see within that object, each of the parts, then you cannot really pinpoint it. You cannot really find it. And then there is nothing to hold on, nothing to grasp on. Everything kind of seems to dissolve. The object that you are clinging, your attachments clinging so strongly, started to dissolve, become less and less unclear, become less and less concrete, become less and less, solid as we do that analysis, as we break down with that kind of analysis. As it becomes less and less unclear, it becomes less and less concrete, become less and less solid. The object started to lose, the object that you are holding and grasping so strongly. Now it started to feel there is no object to hold on, no object to cling on, no object to grasp on. And when you feel that, when your mind, you feel when there's no object to cling on, grasp on, hold on, then the attachment decreases. The clinging decreases. The grasping, strongly grasping, decreases, So even though the object does not exist, as solidly, as concretely, as truly as from its own objective side as it appeared to us, even it does not exist, but there is appearance to our mind, especially when we have the delusions. Especially when you're delusion, that appearance much more stronger. So therefore, that object is like a dream. Like a dream. Because, for example, in a dream, we might be dreaming of someone chasing you, whatever that might be, animal, or human beings trying to kill you and chasing you, and you are running, in your dream, there is this you dream about, and the appearance of someone really chasing you, someone who is really trying to take your life. But it is just a dream. But it is just a dream. There's no really someone who's really chasing you. There's neither really animal or there's neither real human beings who is trying to chase you and trying to take your life. But in your dream, you feel like someone's really chasing you, someone really trying to take your life. And so real, when you get up, when you wake up, when you have nightmares, when you get up, your heart's bump, your heart's beat so strongly. Maybe you are sweating, you know, and maybe we have a lot of fear. Why we have so much fear? Why we were so sweating? Why our hearts were beating so much? Because even though it's not real, because in the dream, we didn't know it was dream. We felt it was so real. If someone understand it's a dream within the dream, then they would not feel same way. But when you don't understand it's a dream, and when you feel it's really happening, then that is where the effect it has on in terms of that. And same thing. So the way it appeared to us, even though it's not real, but in our dream it appears so real, and therefore it affects us in some that way. Once we recognize it's just a dream, then your heart started to beat less. You know, even if it's beating very hard before, oh, you know, you wake up and you know, oh, it was just a dream. It might take a time to calm down, but definitely with the time, your heartbeat will slowly, less and less. Your fear will be less and less. You will be sweating less and less, all of that, because you realize it's just a dream and not real as you felt when you're dreaming. Similarly, you know, when we understand the object of our attachment, even though it seems to us so real, beautiful, so real attractive. But when we understand it is not as real as it appeared to us, it's not as true, as attractive as it appeared to us. It's more like a dream state. It's like a illusions. It's like a reflections of the, you know, another object into the water, and it's not really there. So when you understand this is not real, it appears to us, to our mind, especially to our attachments, then your attachment decreases. Because you realize, you know, it's not as attractive, it's not as beautiful, whatever quality that you were attached to, it is not as that quality as it appeared to our mind, to attachment, our mind as it is, but is more unreal, you know, like a dream. Same with if we apply that same to the object of our anger, same thing, you know. Why do we upset and angry? Because, you know, we think he or she did something very bad, negative, harmful, hurtful, whatever, you know, something bad qualities again. And then with that badness of that quality that we have aversion, that we are angry towards, as though that object is as bad as it appeared to us. It is an appearance as real bad as it appeared to us. Real negative as it appeared to us in our mind, especially to our anger. We believe that, and the more we strongly believe and cling and grab that way, the more stronger our aversion, the more stronger our anger is. But again, if we really analyze what is the badness that we have so strongly aversions again, if we kind of break down into its parts and trying to analyze and trying to find where is that, again, we cannot pinpoint, we cannot locate. It becomes less and less unclear, less and less solid, less and less concrete. And when it becomes, then again, there's no object for our anger to cling on, grasp on, hold on. And when there is no object for the anger to hold on, then the anger itself started to, dissolve, lose the intensity of the anger. And that was same with the object of ignorance, object of jealousy, object of pride, all external objects, they all are totally empty of truly existing. So meditating on that, all the objects of our delusions and all other objects, they are totally empty of truly or inherently existing. They all are empty of, exist from its own side, by its own, or by its own entity, or by its own power. And even though they all are empty of that, still there's appearance of them existing truly, inherently, from objective side, by its own side. And therefore, they all are like a dream. Therefore, all these objects, external objects, are like a dream. And once we understand that, definitely, it will help us to have a strong, those strong negative emotions, strong clinging, grasping, and that is how it acts as an antidote towards our delusions and fundamental ignorance, which is the very root of all other delusions. And therefore, meditating on emptiness and having a realization of emptiness, the wisdom realizing emptiness, like a antidote towards all the delusion, is like a one medicine for all the sickness. On the other hand, many other meditations are one meditations for one particular delusions, and one meditation cannot act as an antidote to all other delusions. For example, we can think of when we have anger, we can think of loving kindness, compassion. Through the loving kindness, compassion, we can overcome the can act as an antidote towards the anger and hatred, but that doesn't become antidote towards the attachment. That doesn't become antidote toward the ignorance. But on the other hand, when we have a realization of emptiness, that wisdom can act as an antidote to all the delusion. And I give the example of attachment, anger, and it's same with ignorance and that. So maybe we should have a little break. Maybe before that, let me see if there's any questions. Yeah. Yeah, I think here I say, could you please discuss how we can see operations as a delusions? For example, systematic operations or racism. And there is another question similar. May I, in good conscience, view the possibility of 2.4 million Yemeni children anxiously starving to death in the next year due primarily to US supported and supplied assault as a dream? So again, you know, even in a dream, you don't want to have a what do you call you want to have a nice dream. You don't want to have a what do you call that I was using it before. Now it can come word nightmare dream, isn't it? They're all a dream, but it has a different effect. Dream doesn't mean it doesn't have any effect. Dream has its own effect. When you have nightmare dream, it affects you in such a fearful way, in such a heart beating and sweating and all these different things. Therefore, we don't want a nightmare dream. Same way, we try to look everything as a dream. But of course, everything's like a dream, but different actions have different effect. Some actions bring more suffering. Some actions bring less suffering. Some actions bring more help. Some actions, policy, system bring more help. Some bring less help. Some bring more harm. Harm is done. And so we understand all as a dream, but because it affects and it harms others, so therefore we have to take actions to change that. The point of seeing it as a dream is not to be so concrete and to be so upset and angry. In terms of when we see racism or oppressions through systematically or even individually, because it is harming, because it is hurting, harming, bringing pain and suffering, whether it's one human being, one animal, or 10, 100, thousands, millions animals, we have to try to minimize, we have to try to stop if there can be stopped to such actions. But when you see it is a dream, then you don't get, your anger doesn't get so strong, It's like, again, yeah, in a dream, you are being chased and it's a dream. So, it is still chasing and it still is trying to take your life. But because it's a dream, it doesn't affect you so much. If you don't understand it is a dream, then how much emotionally, how much strongly affect you. And so that is the point. I think these cautions, I think the caution to us today, it always comes when we talk about emptiness. If it is emptiness, then, then should we allow everything's empty, so therefore anyone can do anything, and why there is no point of practicing and all of that. That kind of cautions arises. And same thing here when we talk about emptiness, when we talk about like dream state, we have to understand the main point where it is coming. All these meditations practice is to let go of those strong negative emotions. That is the key. That is the key. That is the key for, and without emotionally being charged up, without being so upset and angry, we can still change the system. We can still have compassionate system, and we should try to do that. You know, Dalai Lama, for example, he had found many systems in Tibet which are not helpful, and he changed all this system, but not because of so much anger and hatred, but because by understanding, you know, from compassion state of them, and also understanding certain system is no more helpful and beneficial. It also create more problem, and therefore without such that he was able to change, able to bring a lot of positive changes, more compassionate changes. And to bring such as changes, we don't have to be so upset and angry and hateful. And the point here, from the emptiness point of view, looking from like a dream state, is to let go of such anger, hatred, and ill will feeling, because that doesn't help oneself, that doesn't help the society, that doesn't help for the long-term better changes in the system itself. And so that is that I think that we have to keep that in mind. So I can see oppressions and work against it, but not allow the negativity to consume me or depress me. Absolutely. So that is the thing. Yeah, that is the thing. When something unjust is done, when some oppressions is done, or something injustice is done to whether it's one individual or to the society, you know, we should try to stand up for that. We should try to change it. That, you know, we should try to improve all of that, but again, without being angry, upset, and when things are bad, without being so depressed, so overwhelmed by seeing it emptiness, by seeing the emptiness nature of that, by seeing like dream state like that. So by when you are so depressed or overwhelmed because we feel that pain, suffering, or problem so real, so concrete, the more we feel more concrete, more solid, more real, that is going to have more stronger negative emotion in you, that when you are depressed, to make you more depressed or stronger depression or overwhelmed and that. But if you are able to see more like a dream, then, you know, you start to feel more lighter, and you can come out of that strong, whatever you are feeling, you know, overwhelmed and all of that. And same with anger and all of that. But that doesn't mean that, you know, whatever is happening, that is not affecting whether oneself or others, just because it's like a dream. As I mentioned, the dream also had the effect. Different dream have different effect. And so same thing, even we see like different example that in Buddha gave, like a dream, like illusions, magical illusions. Even that, even the creation of magicians, the magical illusion also have different effect. You know, some can be pleasant, some can be scareful, scary creations, you know. So again, even you see it is an illusion, but it can still have a different effect with what kind of creation it is. Even when you see, you know, reflections of moon in the leg, and even it's not a real leg, and you know it is a reflection, but still, even what kind of reflection it is in the leg can also affect you differently. or different sentiment differently. And so therefore, when we say it is like an illusion, it is like a dream, it is like a reflection, it doesn't mean there is no consequences. There's no effect of different of that. And so I think we have to realize that. Okay, so I think we will have a 10-minute break, and then, okay, and if anyone. I think when it comes to teaching on, I think, emptiness, one of the reasons why we have conflict and struggles is when we don't have really a very good understanding of how the delusions are related with that ignorance of not understanding the emptiness, and how all the delusions arises from that, and how when we have a realization of emptiness, how that can act as an antidote towards that fundamental ignorance, and thereby all the other delusions that arises from that. So I think if we understand that, then we know why understanding emptiness is important, and how also understanding emptiness is not about nihilism, or that saying, you know, that is saying or thinking that then if it's empty, then that means, you know, there's no difference. Then if someone is kind, let him kind. If someone is mean, and let them do. It's nothing like that. So I think that is one important factor to really see the connections and between the delusions and how it arises because of that fundamental ignorance, and how understanding emptiness become antidotes towards that delusions. I mean, that fundamental ignorance and delusions. So understanding emptiness does not become an antidote towards compassion. Doesn't become an antidote towards, you know, other positive state of mind, but it becomes antidotes towards the delusions, and because the delusion arises that fundamental ignorance, and it becomes a direct antidote to that fundamental ignorance. So that is where we have to really see the connections. Otherwise, so many times same kind of similar cautions arise all the time. Similar cautions and doubt arises when we talk about emptiness, when we talk about seeing everything like a dream. Yeah. It does really help, you know. You know, sometimes I'm unable to do it all the time, but definitely sometimes I do think about emptiness and about you know, I do find sometimes something trigger you and you have some kind of fear or certain other emotions, and I start to think about emptiness, and then whatever fear, whatever kind of emotions that was arising because of being triggered by some things, I can see after some time the fear kind of decreasing and gone, you know. And or other emotions, whatever is bothering you, you know. Of course, if you have a realization of that, then, you know, that just, you don't even have to so strongly try to think about it, you know. You just have to put little effort and it will come naturally. But for us, you know, who doesn't have realization, even you try to analyze and it kind of helps, you know. And especially it seems, what I notice is, especially when you are doing that meditation regularly, if you do that meditation regularly, and when something happens, you just think a little bit, and because of your regular meditation, then it seems to have strong impact. But if you are not doing regularly, then it becomes more struggles. And I notice with myself, you know, because, for example, certain time when you are doing retreat, because you are doing that practice meditation every day and few sessions, and then you can go into that state very easily, quickly in that state without really struggle to really kind of do that. And easily you can go that state easily, and through that it has a strong impact on whatever emotion that is bothering us. But when you are not doing that regularly, then sometimes, you know, the emotion, then you are trying to think, but then there's a lot of struggles and doesn't seem to have any effect, you know. Doesn't seem to really have an effect, because the meditation, it feels like your meditation not helping, and you have a struggles, you know. You're trying to meditate, but that emotion is quite strong. And that is because, you know, we are not so used to it, and we are not so regular with that practice. And that, but I have noticed when you are doing regularly, then when you try to do it, you don't have that kind of struggles, and you can easily go in that meditation with a very little effort. And when that happens, then it seems to have strong impact on with your whatever emotion that you are kind of going through, you know, in reducing that or minimizing that. Yeah, here is said, I guess perceiving emptiness does not imply not caring. Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, it is said when we have understanding of emptiness, it will actually lead to being more compassionate, more kind, more caring. So it is the other way around, okay? Instead of feeling, if we have realization of emptiness, that means we become kind of like a, you know, indifference, or that it will become like a no caring, you know, doesn't care whatever happened, or becoming like just like a wood, no emotions, no feelings, is totally misunderstanding. On the other hand, it's the other way around. When you have understanding, realization, your compassion, your bodhicitta become more stronger. It gives rise to bodhicitta, and it gives rise to the compassion, and it gives rise to the bodhicitta. And if you have both compassion, it becomes more stronger. Because I think from two different level point of view. One, you know, when you really have the correct realization of emptiness, of course, if we have a wrong understanding of realization of emptiness, then it can become like that. Then you become, when you have a misunderstanding of emptiness, then you go to nihilism. And when you become nihilism, then you become careless. Doesn't matter. Nothing exists. There's no suffering, there's no happiness, there's no one who is suffering, and there's no one who, so therefore you become careless. It doesn't matter. There's no suffering, there's no one who is suffering, and that is when we fall to nihilism. That is where, and then that can lead to really that kind of careless. And but when we have the incorrect and unmistaken realization of emptiness, then while you understand emptiness, you also understand dependent arising. So because of understanding of dependent arising, therefore you understand due to certain cause and conditions, certain results are produced. So due to certain, behavior, certain actions, due to certain policy system, it brings more pain, more suffering. On other hand, due to certain different actions, different system, different activities, it brings more joy, more happiness, more peace in the world. So you see that because you understand dependent arising, there is cause and condition. Due to changing in the cause and conditions, then the result, the experience can be changed. And so therefore, especially, due to dependent arising, then when we have that understanding, we know, we all are related, we all are interconnected, we all have become our best friend, parents, children all the time. And even in this life, we have our happiness, our well-being are very much dependent on others, all of that. Even people with whom we don't have direct connection, but indirectly we affect each others in that way. And so when you see that, then you don't see disconnected between you and the rest of the world. You feel connected with you and the rest of the world. And so when you feel connected with you and the rest of the world, then that allows you to have compassion for others. When there is a disconnection between you and your well-being and yourself with others, then that is where we struggle to feel compassion for others. But once you feel connected, then it is easy to feel love and compassion to others. So therefore, dependent arising help to actually help us to have loving kindness, compassion. And when we have correct understanding of emptiness, and that is when we have a direct experience or a correct experience of emptiness, then it actually leads us to have strong convictions and understanding of dependent arising. In another way of putting, you understand the meaning of emptiness as a dependent arising, and you understand the meaning of dependent arising as emptiness, as Nagarjuna said, Lojong said, And when you understand that the dependent arising emptiness, not contradictory, but actually complementing and supporting, and not only complementing, supporting, actually understanding the meaning of emptiness as a dependent arising, understanding the meaning of dependent arising as emptiness. So when you understand that, so while you see emptiness, you still see functioning of that, the effect, different effect of that object. And when you see that, then definitely you wouldn't be careless or not caring, but actually it leads you to have a more loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta mind. On the other hand, as His Holiness always says, and I think he's, again, saying from his direct experience, he said, when you have realization and emptiness, then you see there is a solution to all our problems, permanent solution of our problem. And because of your experience, you see, oh, if you can only have realization and emptiness, then all these problems are gone. All these problems can be solved. And not just word, with your direct experience. When you have that experience, realization, then you started to, whenever something bothers you, And with that realization, it doesn't bother you, or it doesn't, those negative emotion does not arises or does not last, even it arises very momentary. And when you do that, then you see, oh, and when you see the sentient beings are suffering because they have not understood that. So you see there is a solution, but people, due to ignorance of that solution, they are continuing to suffering. So you feel so much compassion. So more stronger compassion. And so that is why, so therefore, definitely, so yeah, when it is understood correctly, then, and realized correctly, then definitely we wouldn't have that problem. So again, here another, I guess, either is questions or comment. So I guess by experiencing emptiness, then we see how caught we are in samsara, and then allow compassion to arise, because we then see ignorance that infuse samsara, resulting in our suffering. Absolutely, I think just as I mentioned now, when you really have that experience, then you see this is the key to end our suffering. And this is the key to end the samsara and the suffering. And when you see that, even though that is the key, and where everyone can free themselves from samsara and the suffering, but not understanding and due to ignorance of how they are suffering, then you feel really more strongly compassion for them. And so therefore, yeah. So that is, and then the second, within that verse, examine the nature of unborn awareness. So after meditating on emptiness of all external objects, and especially the object of our attachment, anger, ignorance, all the delusions, it is, especially if you emphasize on that, even better. But definitely all the other external objects, then we try to reflect, the very mind, the subjective mind, which is meditating on emptiness. The mind, the subjective mind that is being aware, or that is meditating on emptiness of all these external phenomena, even that mind is empty of truly existent. So then you try to meditate on emptiness of the mind. So as we meditate on the object of attachment, then through the realization of emptiness of object of attachment, then your attachment or anger or any delusion started to loosen up, become weak, because there's no object to grasp on or hold on, But then the subject, the mind itself, can appear so real. Not the object, the mind which precedes the object, that might appear so absolute, so real. And then not only it appeared, then if we started to believe and grasp the mind, the subject, the mind, to be truly existing, absolute, then again, we cling and grasp to that mind. And then again, we can have attachment towards that. So again, if we were attached to the mind itself, the subject, the mind itself, then again, it is another source of problem. Again, it's not end, still, there is still attachment, and there's still grasping, not towards external objects, but towards internal objects. So then meditating on emptiness of the mind, mind itself, the subject mind itself. So again, if we don't analyze, we feel there is so real mind there, or awareness, emotions, whatever you call, they're so real, truly existing, so absolute there, somewhere there. But if we really analyze, what is mind? What is mind? How did it come? Where did it come? From where did it come? How did it come? What is it? There's no beginning. If we try to see where our mind comes from, there's no beginning. In that way is unborn awareness, unborn mind. You go back, where did this mind come from? Or this from previous moment? Where did that mind come from? A previous moment. And we go back and back, then, we cannot pinpoint and say, this is the time when it started. This is the time when he was born. It started, or beginning, So in that sense, then, that is why the uses of words sometimes for the mind, unborn mind, So if you say, what is the mind? And if you analyze this, what is the mind? It is interesting if we really see, analyze. Just like other objects, the mind is made of many features of the mind, or many qualities of the mind, or many parts of the mind, whatever you call it. The mind has these qualities of being non-matter. The mind has these qualities of not being a physical matter or form. It has a qualities of having a quality of not being able to touch like physical matters, or to abstract. It has a qualities of awareness or knowing the object, and it has the qualities of the object to be able to reflect on the subject, the quality or the feature or characteristic that the object will be able to reflect on that, just like a mirror. The mirror has that qualities where any object can reflect within that, clarity, luminosity, those qualities. And if you see, is the luminous nature of the quality or the nature of that mind, or is it the knowing or awareness is the quality that mind? Is this the quality of not being a physical? Is that the mind? Is it the quality of untouchable, unobstructable within that mind? Is that the mind? If you kind of again analyze and kind of into that kind of analysis again, there's nothing to hold on and pinpoint saying this is that mind. This is that mind. Each of those qualities or parts or characteristics, whatever you call it, each of them are not the mind. And then again, before you felt that there was something, you felt so kind of, so real mind, now it becomes less real. Before you feel like you can really pinpoint. Now you feel like you cannot kind of pinpoint and really explain or pinpoint and say, this part of this is mind, or neither the mind is outside of those qualities or those parts. And then, that clearly shows the mind itself, does not exist as a mind by its own power inherently, but it exists only by depending on all these qualities, all these characteristic or quality of that mind, by depending on all these parts, and on basis of that is only how it exists. Yeah. So in a way, the mind actually is a kind of term or label given to collection of things which are not mind. Interesting, isn't it? Just like a car, okay? The body is not a car, the engine is not a car, the shape, color, each of them, if you take each of them are not a car. But what is car? The car is just a label or term, whatever you call it, name given on the collection of all these things together, and which have certain functionings. Each of them which are not car. And that's the same with the persons, that is the same with all phenomena. All phenomena. But the problem is when we have the concept, when we think about car, when we think about self, when we think of mind, when we think of any object, to our object, it appears there is that object as it is from their side. And there where we can go and say, oh, this is it. And where we can kind of find and pinpoint. And so, and that is the way the mistaken, it doesn't appear that none of the parts of those objects, which are that not object, or the collection or part of those objects which are not objects, on the basis of that, then coming together and have certain functioning, then we label, we give name, and that is how it exists as that object, and that's how it functions as that object. That is how really it exists. But in our mind, that is appear to us that way, and neither we grasp that way in our normal, spontaneous response with our mind to the object. Of course, now when we're analyzing this way, when we're thinking, then of course we think, oh, there's a difference. But then the natural, when you go in when you see the, I see this iPad, and then it doesn't seem the iPad was just a name given on the basis of all this, the body inside, all these engines, all this coming together, and it has certain functioning. And to my mind, it doesn't appear that way. To my mind, when I see the iPad, oh, it's there, iPad from its own side as iPad. Totally by itself as an iPad, independently as an iPad. And so that is where the misleading comes. So that is that verse. So then meditating on the emptiness of the mind itself, so that we don't get, so not only we should let go of attachment to the external object, we should also let go of attachment to the internal objects, such as the mind, the subject itself. Then next one, the remedy itself is released in its own place. So it's that what it means is, we could understand that in two ways, One is, So as we started to meditate on emptiness of the external object and emptiness of the mind itself, then if there any doubts arises, like the caution that was arised before, and also that kind of cautions has been always arising all the time when we talk about that. If there is a cautioning arising, as we meditate on emptiness of the external object and internal of the mind, then if we think, oh, then that means nothing exists, and that means there's no consequences of our actions or other actions because everything's empty. If that kind of doubt, thoughts, conceptions arises, then again, is a misconception, misunderstanding. And so then meditate on, how the external objects, the internal object, the mind, all phenomena exist by depending on, other factors, other conditions, cause and conditions, its parts and other factors. And so then meditating on that, so that it can lead us to misunderstanding of the meaning of the emptiness, and to fall into kind of nihilism and reject the law of cause and effect, the functioning of cause and effect, so that's one. But another way of understanding with this verse, and meditating is, so then we think, the external object is not truly existence, is empty of truly existence. The internal, the subject itself is empty of truly existence, is not truly existence. And then, realizing that emptiness, understanding and realizing and experiencing that emptiness is the antidote and solution to all this problem. And when we started to feel that way, emptiness, or you can say the wisdom that realizes emptiness, is the solution to end the samsara, is the solutions, is the key to end all the suffering, all the problem. Then again, we might start to feel the emptiness itself is the absolute. It becomes so most powerful now. Do you get it? The emptiness now becomes so powerful because it is the end to all the problem and suffering. And not understanding emptiness is the source of our problem, suffering, pain. Realizing, understanding emptiness is the key to free from the samsara, to free from all the suffering, all the pain, and so then you feel this emptiness so powerful. And therefore, when you started to feel that emptiness so powerful, then we might start to cling to that emptiness and feel like that is the absolute. Again, when you cling it as a truly existent, the emptiness itself as an absolute, again, still there's clinging, there's a grasping. And that will again tie us in the samsara. That will tie us in the problem, in suffering. And so therefore, when you meditate on emptiness, the emptiness, which is the antidote, okay? The emptiness, which is antidote to all the problem. So when you meditate on that emptiness or that remedy, the emptiness itself is released in its own place, then you get liberated. Then no object to there's no more object to cling and grasp on. Because first we have clinging, grasping to the external object. Through meditation on them, then we let go of that clinging and grasping. And then, the subject, which is doing the meditations, the mind, which is meditating on that, then we started to cling on that, grasping, and we meditate on that. And then again, that is release. Then we think, the meditation on emptiness is the key. Therefore, the emptiness is the most powerful, the remedy itself. And we might start to cling and grasp. And therefore, the Buddha said, even the emptiness is emptiness. Even the remedy itself, the antidote itself, the emptiness itself is empty of truly existence. And once we have that, then you let go of any clinging, grasping, and then that's when you have the liberation, when there's no more clinging and grasping, and then release yourself, liberate yourself, and so that is where it is. So it is starting, meditating on emptiness of external object, meditating on emptiness of the subject, the mind, and then meditating on emptiness of emptiness itself. Okay, I think today we will kind of stop here. So if there is any questions or comments, let me know. Otherwise, we will do the dedications. So we can do the dedications. There is one, let me see. Can you advise to how to feel confidence that we can achieve this? It seems very difficult, far away sometimes. I think we all feel that way. Sometimes it feels so close and easy, and we understood it, and sometimes we feel it is getting further and further, feel like we have not understood. The more it seems, and that is part of the training, and that is part of that. I think to have a confidence, I think you could say, many of the practitioners, even His Holiness the Lama, as he shared his own experience many times, from the ordinary aspect point of view, even he had difficult understanding that at the very beginning, And then again, he continued to study, he continued to reflect, contemplate, and persistently over the time. Then he said, he started to have a better understanding, and he said, before he thought he had a realization of the selflessness, and then because he didn't have sense of grasping to the self, but then he noticed he has subtle grasping to the phenomena like the others, not the self itself, like the body or like the experience. And then he understood, that understanding of selflessness is not according to prasangika. It is the gross level of understanding selflessness according to the Sotandrika Madhyamika. And then again, he started to reflect, contemplate on more on emptiness, and then eventually he had a experience realizations of emptiness, where now he doesn't have a grasping not only to the self but also all other phenomena. And so I think these are examples, of many practitioners who didn't have a understanding immediately, but they didn't give up, you know. They continue to, even it's difficult because it's important, they continue to study, reflect, contemplate, and sometimes creating the marriage, sometimes doing the purification practice, and sometimes asking the blessing request from the Guru, the Buddhas, to bless us to have a correct understanding and realizations. And through all this support, if we continue to do, definitely, you know, you will be able to get better and better. And, you know, even, you know, in my cases, you know, I don't have any realizations, but intellectual understanding, you know, I think I have, my intellectual understanding has gotten better. I think I don't have the struggles that I had struggled before of when you see the emptiness, you can't see the dependent arising. When you see the dependent arising, unable to see the emptiness, not being able to, you see these two as something separate instead of one, you know. And that part, I think that kind of struggle, I think that was clear. I think I can't remember exactly, but I remember one time quite a few, I don't remember exactly year, but quite a while ago, you know, and sometime I struggles just that part in terms of just trying to understand from the reading the text and reflecting and just from the studying itself, you know, I still struggles. And but I think in one of those reflection, meditative contemplation stated, it clears some things that I struggled before in that particular area. And so I think, and sometimes, yeah, I think, so it is just, we continue to kind of, so I think, you know, and yeah, even we have the intellectual understanding, you know, that's good because that gives us a basis to work on if we want to meditate and have the realizations, you know. So I think maybe that is all kind of I can say. And also you remember, you know, I've heard so many people who have said they struggle a lot at the very beginning when meditating to focus, even on without getting distracted, even in one inhaling and exhaling, you know, even within the one moment of inhaling and exhaling, in that moment they couldn't stay their mind still without being distracted. And some of them, you know, they can do one inhaling and exhaling, but they cannot stay still without getting distracted when 3 or 4 at the very beginning. And but they continue to do, and now they can do, you know, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, some of them half hour, 1 hour without. And at the very beginning, they feel almost like hopeless. And at the very beginning, they felt like it's not for me, but they didn't give up. They were persistent and continue, and then slowly became a little better and better. And now for them it is easy, but for some people still difficult, you know. And so therefore, even though some people find very difficult now, but again, if they continue to do that, persistent and work on that, definitely. And so sometimes that is how we feel. Many of the practice at the very beginning, it feels like it's very far away. But if we continue to do that, so I think if you continue to study, practice as much as possible, I think definitely over the years, even we don't have realization, at least you will have a better grasp or meaning of that, at least on intellectual level, and definitely, of course, we should go beyond that, but even that is, yeah, good. So I think maybe that's all I can kind of share in relation that cautions. Okay. Yeah. Gewadi nyodo da lama sangye do gyone do chi ma le ba te sala kwe ba sho changjo senjo renbo che ma ke pa na ke jo che gewa nyamba me ba yang onle ponto pe wa sho. The wish-granting, fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparable kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. You who uphold the subdued morals way and who serve as a bountiful bearer of all sustaining, preserving, and spreading Manjuna's victorious doctrine, who masterfully accomplished magnificent prayer, honored the three Jews, Savior, myself, and others, your disciples, please live. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you.